Following these ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed in the translation, He says, and we, after Luqman instructed his son to join nothing in worship with Allah, and he told him that that is the gravest of sins, he went on to say, and we, or Allah revealed, and we have enjoined on man to be good to his parents, and travail upon travel did his mother bear him, and in years twain was his weaning. Hear the command, show gratitude to me and to thy parents. To me is thy final goal. When we are young, we are completely 100% that youth is dependent upon his mother to take care of him, to provide for him, to bring him his sustenance. We as adults understand that it comes and starts and begins with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to that little baby, that 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, up to 2-year-old baby, he is completely dependent on his mother to provide his food, his drink, to clean him, to clothe him, everything he needs, his mother provides it to him. And a lot of times in the Quran, Allah talks about not associating partners with him, and then he follows it up with being dutiful to your parents. Again, I challenge us all to contemplate and to think about this. Why? Why do we think this? Why does Allah tell us to not associate anything with him, and then quite often he follows it up with be dutiful to your parents? One of the, as we pointed out, in that youthful stage, we're completely helpless. We're dependent upon our mother. Translation, the next ayah says, but if they strive to make thee join and worship with me things of which thou hast no knowledge, obey them not, yet bear them company in this life with justice and consideration, and follow the way of those who turn to me in love. In the end, the return of you all is to me, and I will tell you the truth and meaning of all that ye did. I know we don't have or at least I pray and hope that we don't have the mentality to want to celebrate this day that people here in America are celebrating. But what I want to point out is that we be careful not to associate partners to Allah in a more subtle manner. Just as I gave the example of the alarm system. Again, it's innocent, but it could be shirk. A lot of things we know we should do, a lot of things we should act on, a lot of things we know we should not do, we still do them and engage in it, taking chances. We wonder, we talk about, we debate about the day of judgment, and when is it, and how far away, and how many of the signs have we seen, and are we living in the last days? But my dear beloved brothers and sisters, today could be the day of judgment. If we die today, tomorrow, the next day is your day of judgment. We may not be here when the trumpet is blown. There may not be time to get ourselves straight. Just last week we had our new year, according to the lunar calendar. Next week there'll be another new year according to the Gregorian calendar. A lot of times we make goals. Well, I'm going to do this. I'll do this at the beginning of Ramadan or the end of Ramadan or after Hajj or before Hajj. We have to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He has commanded us to worship Him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no breaks. We don't get breaks. Through our daily work, in school, and the people we deal with, I'm sure we've all come in contact with people that are celebrating in this respective day. I happen to come from a family that is not Muslim. My family, besides my wife and my immediate household, are non-Muslim. And they celebrate this day. And they also have a practice of going to church on New Year's, to bring the New Year's in church. And I was talking to one of my family members the other day, and they mentioned to me that they were going to go to church next Friday. And I kind of, maybe had a little smirk on my face, and they kind of looked at me like, well, what? And I said, well, that's, good. That's good that you're making an effort. It's good that you're making an effort, but I know that they're making the wrong effort. So he says to me, well, you go be a Jumuah. You go be a Jumuah. And I say, but that's the difference. This was my brother. I say, but that's the difference. We do that every day. We worship our Lord, our cherisher, our sustainer, our provider. We as Muslims worship him every day of the week. We do have special days, but our worship is not different on those special days, or it shouldn't be. But I think if we look and we ask ourselves and we contemplate, we'll find that our worship is different on those days. It shouldn't be that way. The giving feeling that we feel on those special days, on our Eids, we should feel that way year round. The love that we have for our families and the gifts, we should feel that way year round. We really have to make, not to follow anyone or to be in competition, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already said that the mu'min, that the believers will be the winners in the end. But we have to do what it is that we should do. Just like we have been flooded with Merry Christmas for the past few weeks, why are not the non-Muslims flooded with dhikr of Allah, something that really has a meaning? It is not something that created. It is something that our forefathers, our true forefathers, our Muslims, the Sahaba, our prophets, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it's something that they did. To recite the dhikr for days after the salah, audible, through the markets. How many of us dare have the courage to do that? Do we understand Merry Christmas? They don't understand what it is. We say, oh, well, they wouldn't understand. But to walk through the supermarkets during our holiday season, chanting Allahu Akbar, to make it nice and beautiful and fun for our children. Because it will be a sad day if they grow up and it's happening. And instead of them wanting to be Muslim and have their Muslim identity, they want to be like other people. That is why, that is one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not forgive you for, associating partners with him. If you can destroy a person's belief or a person's vision, a person's perspective of their provider, of their Lord, of their Allah, of their God, then you've completely corrupted and destroyed that person. If you don't know where your sustenance and provisions come from, then you'll be delusional. You'll run around, just as Allah tells us in the book, wanting credit for what you didn't do. This is not to belittle anyone, but it is our duty as Muslims here that we know the truth to take it to them. We have to get active. We sit back and we say we have the truth. We have a book that is untampered with. There's no doubt in any of our minds here. But do we go and face the people with it like we know that? We'll say it, but do we really believe that? Wallahi, we could take every book, every written text, every computer in the world and destroy them today. By next week, we'll have another book. We'll have this book again. No one else can put it back together. We'll have this. We'll have the book of Allah. We'll have our guidance and our instruction what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us. But just having it is not enough. We have to impart it into ourselves, act on it, learn it, act on it, and give it to our families. That wisdom that we get out of it, just as Luqman did to his son. Because our sons, our children, are our future. And if we look, if we pick up the newspaper, we browse the internet, we call back home, whatever means you choose, can you say that you are truly happy with the status of the Muslims today? Every day, we call the adhan for salah. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala salah. Come to salah, come to success. Success is in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not success as man has laid out. We have to learn to stick together and love one another. Again, contemplate, ask yourselves, do you think the world loves Muslims? Do you think Muslims are the favorites in the world? Why? But then I tell you and I caution you that you must, or we must, love one another. We are fighting a constant battle. Shaitan and his wards are very strong. They're very crafty. They're very good at what they do. Allah tells us that a lot of these things are put in our path to hinder us from the remembrance of Allah. The video games, the music, the nightlife that you could potentially have, the cars, the big screen TVs, the cells, everything. We are only here to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has given us a criterion to judge between right and wrong. He's given us instruction. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to figure it out. We have to come together and implement it, learn it and implement it. Please, just look at us and look at where we're at. Start with yourself and then start with your house. It's not enough to ride around and listen to Quran playing in the CD in the car or to teach the kids Quran. MashaAllah for the effort. MashaAllah that you want to listen to it. But what do you do with it next? We are breeding a generation of Muslims that are going to be much like us or worse. We flash money around for Quran competitions, for recitals, to recite. And that may be okay. But does that kid know what he just said? Can he act upon any of those ayah? Oh, Allahu Akbar, his voice is so beautiful. But what is he doing with it? What is he doing with the ayah that he's committing to memory? What do we do with it? We have to act upon it. We have to take it and teach it to those whom don't know. Anything that I said today that was good came from myself or from Allah, sorry. And anything that I said that was bad or an error came from myself. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let something that I said benefit us today. I pray that Allah allows us to fit into our busy schedules time to spend with His book and to try to not only learn it for recitation in salah, but to apply it to our lives. I pray that Allah lets us look toward those beautiful, perfect examples that He left for us, that He put for us, and not look other places that people may try to focus our attention on. I pray that Allah lets us be proud to be Muslim, and that He lets us know that we are the best of people evolved for mankind. But that's just not a saying. Pray that Allah lets us follow that up with enjoining the good and forbidding the wrong. I pray that He gives us the courage to do this and to not fear the blame of the blamers. And I pray that He allows us to raise strong Muslim children that love Him just as much as our Prophet and his Sahaba did. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
I want to get hold of you.